For centuries, the vast, icy wilderness of Siberia has acted as a silent guardian, locking away the secrets of a prehistoric world beneath its endless permafrost. These frozen expanses, stretching for thousands of miles, have preserved the echoes of an age when giants roamed the earth. The permafrost, ground that remains frozen year-round, functions as nature's ultimate deep freezer. It has kept the remains of ancient creatures astonishingly intact, halting the passage of time and creating a natural vault for the relics of the Ice Age. In this harsh, forbidding landscape, the story of the mammoth's rediscovery began to unfold, not in the laboratories of modern science, but in the daily lives of the people who called this land home. Long before paleontologists arrived, indigenous Siberians and local villagers would stumble upon massive, curved tusks and enormous bones jutting from riverbanks and eroding cliffs. These mysterious remains, sometimes weighing hundreds of pounds, sparked legends of underground monsters and ancient spirits, stories passed down through generations told of giant beasts slumbering beneath the earth, their bones surfacing only when disturbed by floods or landslides. These myths, woven into the fabric of local culture, hinted at a reality even more extraordinary. When the truth finally emerged, it surpassed even the wildest tales. The discovery of mammoth remains would not only rewrite natural history, but also ignite a scientific quest that continues to this day. The turning point came in 1798 when the world's attention was drawn to the Siberian wilderness. That year, a local hunter, braving the unforgiving cold near the Lena River, stumbled upon a site that would change history. Embedded in a block of ancient ice was the nearly complete carcass of a gigantic animal, its massive body, long tusks, and thick fur preserved as if it had only recently fallen. Over the course of several years, as the summer sun slowly melted the permafrost, the mammoth's form gradually emerged from its icy tomb. Each layer revealed more of the animal's story, from its powerful limbs to the intricate patterns of its fur. The preservation was so complete that even the mammoth's skin, muscle, and thick, woolly coat remained. Scientists marveled at the texture of the hide, the color of the fur, and the unmistakable scent of ancient earth. This was not just a collection of bones, but a messenger from the Ice Age, a creature that had walked the tundra thousands of years before, now offering itself up for study. The unveiling of this mammoth was a sensation. Crowds gathered to witness the unveiling, and word of the find spread rapidly across Europe, sparking a wave of scientific curiosity and public fascination. For the first time, researchers could examine not just fossilized bones, but the actual flesh and features of a prehistoric animal. This allowed for unprecedented insights into the biology, diet, and environment of the mammoth. News of the discovery reached the scientific community, where it was met with both excitement and skepticism. Letters and reports circulated among Europe's leading naturalists, each eager to examine the evidence for themselves. Among the first to study the remains was Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, a German scientist whose work would lay the foundation for paleontology. In 1799, he described the creature as a woolly elephant, a term that captured both its familiar and alien qualities. Over time, the name Mammoth took hold, and the animal became a symbol of the lost world of the Ice Age. Scientific sketches and illustrations circulated widely, fueling the imagination of the public and inspiring further expeditions. In a remarkable twist, it is said that Russian scientists, curious about the preservation, actually tasted the ancient meat. Around a campfire, they cooked and ate portions of the mammoth, finding it surprisingly edible after thousands of years in the ice. While this act may seem unthinkable today, it was a testament to the extraordinary preservation power of the Siberian permafrost, a natural time capsule that could keep flesh fresh for millennia. Scientists carefully examined the texture and composition of the meat, marveling at how little it had changed since the animal's death. This opened new avenues for research, including the study of ancient DNA and tissue. Since that first astonishing find, Siberia has continued to yield its frozen treasures. Each summer, as the permafrost thaws, new remains are exposed. Tusks, bones, and sometimes entire bodies, waiting to be unearthed by teams of scientists and local prospectors. Modern excavations are far more sophisticated, using ground-penetrating radar, careful mapping, and delicate tools to extract remains without damaging them. Teams work quickly, racing against the clock as the thawing permafrost threatens to degrade these ancient specimens. Some of the most remarkable discoveries have been baby mammoths like Leuba and Nunchogar. These tiny, perfectly preserved calves, some only a month old at death, offer a window into the earliest stages of mammoth life. Scientists can now study the growth patterns, diet, and even the last meals of these young mammoths, thanks to the preservation of their stomach contents and soft tissues. Every detail, from eyelashes to tiny hooves, is a clue to life in the Ice Age. Today, we are no longer limited to piecing together skeletons. We can look into the faces of these ancient giants, preserved in ice for thousands of years, and imagine the world they once inhabited. Their stories, frozen in time, are finally being revealed, one discovery at a time. The word mammoth itself has come to mean really big, and for good reason. It comes from a word that means giant creature, which is a perfect way to describe these amazing animals. When you look at a mammoth, the first thing you notice is its sheer size. An adult woolly mammoth stood up to 4.5 meters tall at the shoulder and weighed between 6 and 8 tons. Some of the largest males could even reach a massive 12 tons, making them among the most powerful land animals of their era. Their skeletons were built for strength and endurance. The mammoth's massive limb bones, thick, dense, and slightly curved, supported their enormous weight, much like the pillars of a building. Their pelvis and shoulder blades were broad and robust, anchoring powerful muscles that allowed them to move their bulk across the frozen tundra. Their muscle systems were equally impressive. Mammoths had thick, well-developed muscles along their shoulders, back, and legs, giving them the power to plow through snow and ice. Their neck muscles were especially strong, supporting the heavy head and those iconic tusks. But perhaps the most famous part of the mammoth was its amazing pair of tusks. These weren't just really big teeth, they were complex tools and powerful weapons. Curving dramatically outwards and then back in, a large male's tusks could grow to be over 4 meters long. The tusks were made of ivory, with growth rings that recorded the animal's life, much like the rings of a tree. The mammoth's skull was high-domed and thick, providing a strong anchor for the tusks and a large nasal cavity. This cavity helped warm the frigid air before it reached the lungs, a crucial adaptation for Ice Age survival. Like a modern snowplow, they would have used their tusks to push aside deep piles of snow, clearing the ground to reach the frozen grasses and bushes buried underneath. The trunk, similar to that of modern elephants but shorter and more muscular, was another versatile tool, used for grasping food, drinking, and social interaction. Their sheer size was a defense in itself, a living mountain of muscle and bone that would have been a scary sight for any predator, including our own early ancestors. The tusks were also used to fight off predators and in battles between males for dominance. In these dramatic confrontations, the tusk could be locked and twisted, much like the antlers of modern deer or the horns of bison. This behavior is still seen in today's elephants, their closest living relatives. When we look at the preserved stomach contents of these frozen giants, we get a direct peek into their daily lives and what they ate. These remains confirm they were plant eaters, showing a menu of grasses, sedges, flowering plants, and the leaves and buds of small trees like willow and birch. This evidence paints a picture of an animal always searching for food, using its incredible strength and specialized anatomy to extract nourishment from a seemingly empty, frozen landscape. Their whole existence showed how well they could live in a place that would be completely impossible for most other large plant-eating animals today. Their thick, shaggy fur, up to a meter long in places, formed a dense, insulating coat with a soft, woolly underlayer to trap heat. Beneath the skin, a layer of fat, up to 10 centimeters thick, provided extra warmth and energy reserves. One of the most fascinating scientific insights comes from their tusks. Just like counting the rings of a tree to find out its history, scientists can do the same with a mammoth's tusk. By looking at a slice of the tusk, you can see clear layers or rings that were added each year of the animal's life. These rings reveal not only age, but also periods of stress, illness, or environmental change. This method has shown that mammoths lived about as long as modern elephants, often for over 60 years. Their bone structure, muscle systems, and even social behaviors closely parallel those of today's elephants, highlighting their evolutionary connection. This long life, along with a slow way of having babies, meant that mammoth groups grew slowly. Like elephants, they likely formed tight-knit family groups, with strong bonds between mothers and calves. This slow reproductive rate was a factor that would later become very important in how easily they could be harmed. The mammoth's anatomy was a masterpiece of adaptation. Every bone, muscle, and strand of fur designed for survival in the harshest conditions the Ice Age could offer. The woolly mammoth was a master of adapting, a true survivor in one of the harshest environments Earth has ever known. But how did these Ice Age giants manage to thrive for thousands of years, facing freezing temperatures, scarce food, and ever-changing landscapes? Evolution shaped the mammoth into an animal perfectly suited not just to endure, but to flourish in the biting cold of the Ice Age. Their survival strategies were as complex as the world they inhabited. The most obvious and famous adaptation was its magnificent coat. This wasn't just one layer of fur, but a complex, multi-layered system for keeping warm. An outer layer of long, rough guard hairs, some almost a meter long, acted like a shield against wind, snow, and rain. Beneath this, a much finer, thicker undercoat of woolly fur trapped a layer of air against the skin, providing excellent insulation, much like the down in a modern winter jacket. Underneath its impressive fur coat, the mammoth had another very important layer of defense against the cold. A thick layer of fat, up to 10 centimeters thick. This fat under the skin acted as an extra insulating blanket, stopping precious body heat from escaping into the freezing air. It also served as a vital energy store, allowing mammoths to survive long, dark winters when food was scarce. During the harshest months, mammoths could rely on these fat reserves to keep themselves going, a strategy similar to that of modern bears and other cold-adapted animals. But surviving the Ice Age wasn't just about staying warm. Finding enough food was a constant challenge. Scientific studies of preserved mammoth dung and stomach contents have revealed that their diet was surprisingly varied. Mammoths were primarily grazers, feeding on tough grasses, sedges, and herbs that grew on the vast steppe tundra. Their large, curved tusks were used to sweep away snow and uncover buried plants, while their massive molars ground down fibrous vegetation. In times of scarcity, they could also eat shrubs, bark, and even the branches of small trees. This flexible diet was key to their survival in a landscape where food sources changed with the seasons and climate. Migration was another crucial survival strategy. Scientific evidence from fossilized footprints and isotopic analysis of mammoth tusks suggests that these animals traveled vast distances in search of food and better conditions, following the seasonal growth of plants across the tundra. Like modern elephants, mammoths likely lived in tight-knit social groups, led by experienced matriarchs. These herds provided protection from predators and helped young mammoths learn essential survival skills. Social bonds were vital, especially during migrations and harsh winters. Herd members could help each other find food, care for calves, and defend against threats like Ice Age predators. The mammoth's very shape and structure were also adaptations to the cold. Unlike their modern relatives, the African and Asian elephants, which use their large ears to let out heat and cool down, the woolly mammoth had remarkably small ears and a short tail, crucial for conserving heat, as large body parts lose warmth quickly. The mammoth also had a noticeable hump on its back, which, much like a camel's hump, is thought to have been a store of fat, providing another emergency source of energy for the leanest times of the year. Even the mammoth's blood had an amazing adaptation. Scientists examining preserved tissues have discovered that mammoth hemoglobin, the protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen, had special qualities. It could release oxygen to the body's cells even at very low temperatures. In most mammals, cold makes hemoglobin hold onto oxygen more tightly, which can lead to frostbite and tissue damage in the extremities. The mammoth's unique blood chemistry ensured its cells kept getting oxygen, even in its feet and the tip of its trunk, allowing it to function perfectly in a world of ice. Despite all these adaptations, the Ice Age world was full of challenges: blizzards, shifting climates, predators, and competition for food. Yet, for thousands of years, the woolly mammoth's remarkable survival strategies allowed it to rule the frozen north, leaving behind a legacy that still fascinates scientists today. Each new discovery, from preserved remains to ancient DNA, reveals more about how these giants met the challenges of their icy world, and how their story continues to shape our understanding of life in extreme environments. The woolly mammoth's journey through the Ice Age is a testament to the power of adaptation, cooperation, and resilience in the face of nature's greatest tests. While the woolly mammoth is by far the most famous, its story is just one thread in a vast and intricate tapestry of evolution, adaptation, and survival. The woolly mammoth belonged to a remarkable family tree, one that branched out into a diverse array of species over millions of years. The term mammoth refers to the genus Mammothus, a group of prehistoric elephants whose evolutionary journey began in Africa. Through fossil discoveries and genetic analysis, scientists have identified at least 10 distinct mammoth species, each adapted to unique environments and time periods. These species roamed across Africa, Eurasia, and the Americas, their fossils marking a timeline that stretches back over 5 million years. Each branch of the mammoth family tree tells a story of adaptation. Some species thrived in warm savannas, while others conquered the icy tundra. Paleontologists have pieced together this evolutionary puzzle by studying fossilized bones, teeth, and even preserved soft tissue found in permafrost. The woolly mammoth, or Mammothus primigenius, is perhaps the best known, but it was just one of many. Genetic studies have revealed that the woolly mammoth was actually a relatively recent addition to the family, evolving from earlier ancestors as the climate cooled. Surprisingly, the woolly mammoth was smaller than some of its relatives, such as the massive steppe and Columbian mammoths. It was also the last of its kind, surviving until just a few thousand years ago on isolated Arctic islands. The woolly mammoth's extinction marked the end of a lineage that had flourished for millions of years. But the mammoth story began long before the Ice Age, in the warm, open landscapes of prehistoric Africa and Eurasia. The southern mammoth, Mammuthus meridionalis, is the oldest known species, appearing about 2.5 million years ago. Fossils of this giant have been found across Africa and Eurasia, providing crucial clues to the origins of the mammoth lineage. These early mammoths were much larger than their woolly descendants and lived in relatively warm climates. Unlike the shaggy woolly mammoth, the southern mammoth had little need for a thick fur coat. It roamed open woodlands and savannas, sharing its world with other ancient giants. Over time, as climates shifted and new habitats emerged, mammoths diversified into new forms. Descendants of the southern mammoth migrated across continents, giving rise to new species adapted to different environments. The steppe mammoth, Mammothus trogontheri, emerged in Eurasia, and became one of the largest land mammals ever to walk the earth. Fossil evidence and DNA analysis suggest that the steppe mammoth was the direct ancestor of the woolly mammoth. It dominated the vast grasslands of Eurasia, adapting to cooler and drier climates as the Ice Age approached. Through evolutionary changes, such as smaller ears, thicker fur, and a layer of fat, the steppe mammoth gave rise to the woolly mammoth, perfectly suited for the frigid tundra. This transition is now being unraveled not just by fossils, but by cutting-edge genetic research. Meanwhile, other mammoth species migrated into the Americas, evolving into new forms to suit their environments. The Columbian mammoth, Mammothus columbi, was one of the largest and most widespread species in North America. Recent DNA studies have revealed that the Columbian mammoth interbred with woolly mammoths, creating hybrids that carried traits from both lineages. Towering over early humans, the Columbian mammoth was a true Ice Age giant. Its range stretched from the northern United States all the way to Central America, where it thrived in open grasslands and woodlands. Unlike its woolly cousin, the Columbian mammoth had less hair, an adaptation to the warmer climates it inhabited. This allowed it to thrive in a variety of environments, from temperate forests to grassy plains. In North America, the Jeffersonian mammoth, Mammothus jeffersoni, also roamed, sometimes alongside its Columbian relative. The diversity of mammoth species across continents is a testament to their evolutionary success and adaptability. Migration, environmental change, and even interbreeding shape the mammoth family tree, as revealed by both fossil records and ancient DNA. These animals survived dramatic shifts in climate, from warm interglacial periods to the harshest Ice Age winters. Their remains, preserved in permafrost and sediment, have allowed scientists to extract and sequence ancient DNA, unlocking secrets of their evolution and extinction. Genetic studies have shown that mammoths were not a static group, but a dynamic lineage that responded to environmental pressures and opportunities. Over millions of years, the mammoth family tree branched and flourished, producing a rich diversity of forms. From the warm forests of ancient Europe to the frozen plains of Siberia and the grasslands of North America, mammoths left their mark on every continent they reached. Today, the woolly mammoth is the iconic image we remember, but its story is just the final chapter in a saga of evolution, migration, and survival. Thanks to paleontological discoveries and advances in DNA analysis, we are now able to trace the mammoth family tree in unprecedented detail, revealing a fascinating journey that connects us to a lost world of giants. One of the most common misconceptions people have is that mammoths and dinosaurs roamed the earth together. It's a fun image, a massive Tyrannosaurus Rex squaring off against a woolly mammoth. But this is pure fantasy, a scene that belongs only in storybooks and movies. In reality, an immense gulf of time separates these two legendary groups of animals. The last of the non-bird dinosaurs vanished from the planet about 65 million years ago, wiped out by a catastrophic asteroid impact that forever changed life on Earth. It wasn't until nearly 60 million years later, around 7 million years ago, that the earliest ancestors of mammoths began to appear. Dinosaurs and mammoths never shared the same world, not even close. After the dinosaurs disappeared, the world entered a new era, the age of mammals. Mammals, once small and overshadowed by the giant reptiles, began to diversify and thrive. Over millions of years, mammals evolved into a stunning variety of forms, from tiny shrews to towering mammoths, and came to dominate nearly every ecosystem on Earth. The Pleistocene epoch, often called the Ice Age, was a time of giants. Mammoths walked alongside other incredible megafauna like the woolly rhinoceros, saber-toothed cats, and giant ground sloths. The powerful cave bear was another formidable presence in this wild landscape. These enormous animals shaped their environments, trampling forests into grasslands, spreading seeds, and serving as prey for the era's top predators. The world was raw, untamed, and teeming with life, an ecosystem both beautiful and brutal, where survival was a daily challenge. But perhaps the most remarkable change after the age of dinosaurs was the rise of humans. As the Ice Age progressed, our own ancestors began to spread across these vast, frozen landscapes. Unlike the dinosaurs, mammoths and humans shared a long and deeply intertwined history. Evidence of this relationship is carved and painted into the walls of caves across Europe, where ancient people left behind vivid images of the animals that shaped their world. In places like Chauvet Cave in France, our ancestors created astonishingly accurate and detailed portraits of mammoths, capturing their high-domed heads, sloping backs, and shaggy coats. These ancient artists gave us a direct window into the past, showing us what mammoths looked like through the eyes of people who lived alongside them 30,000 years ago. But the relationship between humans and mammoths was far more than just observation. For early humans, the mammoth was a vital resource. Hunting these giants required skill, cooperation, and courage. A single successful hunt could feed a group for weeks or even months, providing not just meat but fat and marrow essential for survival in the harsh Ice Age climate. Every part of the mammoth was used. Its hide became clothing and shelter. Its bones and tusks were shaped into tools, weapons, and art. Mammoth hides protected families from the freezing winds, and their bones formed the frames of sturdy shelters. Their ivory was carved into intricate figurines, beads, and even musical instruments, revealing the deep cultural significance of these animals. In many ways, the mammoth was at the heart of Ice Age ecosystems and human culture, a keystone species whose presence shaped the land, the lives of other animals, and the very survival of our ancestors. The world after dinosaurs was not just a world of mammals, but a world where the destinies of mammoths and humans became forever linked. After millions of years of success, roaming across continents in huge herds, the mammoths disappeared. But their story is deeply intertwined with that of our own ancestors, a tale not just of extinction, but of survival, ingenuity, and the forging of a unique relationship between humans and these Ice Age giants. The question of why these mighty creatures died out is one of the great mysteries of ancient times, and, well, a topic of intense scientific debate. But to truly understand their fate, we must look at the complex relationship between mammoths and prehistoric humans, a relationship revealed through both archaeological evidence and the stories etched into ancient artifacts. Most mammoths vanished around 10,000 years ago at the end of the last Ice Age. There wasn't one single reason for their end, but rather a mix of powerful forces that came together to seal their fate. The two main ideas which likely work together are big climate change and the growing pressure from human hunting. But the story of human hunting is far richer than simple predation. It's a saga of adaptation, cooperation, and cultural evolution. The first big problem was the changing climate. The end of the Pleistocene epoch was a time of rapid global warming. As the huge sheets of ice on the continents melted away, the world that the mammoth was so perfectly suited for began to disappear. The vast, cold, dry grassland, often called the Mammoth Steppe, changed into denser, wetter forests and swamps. This big shift in the environment changed their home and altered the types of plants available. The grasses and tough plants that made up most of their diet became less common, making it harder for these enormous plant-eaters to find enough food to keep themselves alive. The second major factor was, without a doubt, humans. For prehistoric people, the mammoth was more than just prey. It was a source of food, clothing, shelter, and even spiritual meaning. As human populations grew and spread, their hunting tools became more advanced. Archaeological sites reveal a remarkable array of stone-tipped spears, atlatls, and even traps designed specifically for hunting these massive animals. Our ancestors developed very effective tools, such as the atlatl, or spear thrower, which allowed them to hunt these giant animals from a safer distance. Teams of hunters would coordinate ambushes, driving mammoths into bogs or natural traps, or encircling them in open terrain. For a group of hunters working together, a mammoth was a high-risk but incredibly high-reward target. A single successful hunt could provide meat, bones for tools and shelter, hides for clothing, and even tusks for art and trade. Evidence for this idea of overkill can be found at ancient kill sites, where mammoth bones are discovered alongside human-made stone tools. Some sites show clear butchery marks and even arrangements of bones that suggest ritual or communal feasting. The constant pressure from a new and exceptionally smart predator would have had a terrible impact on their numbers. But the relationship was not just one-sided. Mammoths also shaped human culture, inspiring cave art, carvings, and myths that have survived for thousands of years. It's most likely that these two forces created a perfect storm. As the mammoths' habitat shrank and their food sources became less available due to climate change, their populations would have become smaller and more separated. These isolated, struggling herds would then have been much more vulnerable to human hunting pressure. Archaeological evidence shows that as mammoth numbers dwindled, humans adapted their strategies, targeting the remaining herds with increasing efficiency. A healthy, thriving population might have been able to handle the hunts, but a population already struggling to survive could easily be pushed over the edge. The loss of mammoths would have been felt by humans too, forcing them to adapt, migrate, and find new sources of food and materials. A small final group of mammoths managed to hold on to life on Wrangel Island in the Arctic Ocean, isolated from the pressures of human hunters for a time. But they too eventually died out around 4,000 years ago, marking the final, quiet end of the mammoths' long reign. Yet the echoes of their relationship with humans remain, etched in bone, stone, and the stories we still tell today. When we look at a modern elephant, we are seeing not just a living relative of the great mammoths, but a remarkable example of how evolution shapes life to fit its environment. Both mammoths and elephants belong to the family Elephantidae, sharing a common ancestor that lived millions of years ago. Over time, their evolutionary paths diverged, leading to the unique animals we know today. Genetic studies reveal that the woolly mammoth was actually more closely related to the modern Asian elephant than the Asian elephant is to the African elephant. This close relationship is evident in their DNA, but their differences are just as striking. Thousands of years of evolution spent in dramatically different climates created a number of important distinctions between mammoths and elephants. Mammoths roamed the cold, wind-swept tundras of the Ice Age, while elephants adapted to the hot, sun-baked plains and forests of Africa and Asia. These differences are a beautiful example of how life adapts to its environment, with each animal developing specialized traits to survive and thrive. The most obvious difference is in their outer covering. Mammoths were covered in a thick, shaggy coat of hair, with a dense underwool and long guard hairs, providing insulation against the freezing temperatures of the Ice Age. This fur, along with a layer of insulating fat, was essential for survival in the harsh, icy tundra. In contrast, modern elephants have very little hair, and their skin is wrinkled and grey. Elephants live in hot climates, so their skin helps them release body heat. The wrinkles increase surface area, allowing them to cool down more efficiently, and they often use dust or mud as natural sunscreen and insect repellent. Their behavior reflects this adaptation. Elephants are often seen spraying themselves with water or dust, behaviors that help regulate their body temperature and protect their skin. Another key difference is in their ears. Modern elephants have large, flapping ears that act like giant radiators, cooling the blood that flows through them. This is vital for surviving in the heat. Mammoths, on the other hand, had much smaller ears, minimizing heat loss and the risk of frostbite in the cold. If a mammoth had ears as large as an elephant's, it would have quickly frozen to death. The physical size and shape of these animals also reflect their environments. While some mammoth species were enormous, the woolly mammoth was about the same size as a modern African elephant, but with a stockier, more robust build. The mammoth's body was designed to conserve heat, with a high shoulder hump, a sloped back, and a high-domed head, while elephants have a more rounded back and a taller, leaner frame suited for dissipating heat. The sloped back and prominent shoulder hump of the mammoth were adaptations for storing fat and supporting powerful muscles, crucial for surviving long, cold winters. Elephants, in contrast, have a more gently curved back, reflecting their need for mobility and endurance in vast, open landscapes. The tusks of mammoths and elephants also differ. Mammoth tusks were longer, more curved, and often spiraled, used for foraging under snow and digging through frozen ground. Elephant tusks are straighter and used for digging, stripping bark, and as tools in social interactions. Scientific research has uncovered even more differences at the biological level. For example, the hemoglobin in mammoth blood was specially adapted to release oxygen at lower temperatures, a trait not found in modern elephants. This adaptation allowed mammoths to remain active in freezing conditions, while elephants living in warm climates have no need for such a trait. Mammoths also had a thick layer of insulating fat beneath their skin, another adaptation for cold, while elephants have little fat and rely on behaviors like seeking shade and bathing to stay cool. Even their behaviors reflect their environments. Mammoths likely traveled in herds for protection and warmth, migrating across vast tundras, while elephants form complex social groups and use their intelligence to find water and food in challenging landscapes. The mammoth was an animal of the cold, perfectly adapted to the icy world of the Pleistocene, while the elephant is a creature of the heat, thriving in the sun-drenched landscapes of today. Through scientific research, from DNA analysis to fossil studies, we continue to uncover the fascinating story of these two giants. They are two sides of the same evolutionary coin, each a masterpiece of adaptation to its own world, one shaped by ice, the other by sun. For all of human history, extinction has been a final, unchangeable event, a line that, once crossed, could never be retraced. But today, science is daring to challenge that finality in ways once thought impossible. Across the globe, teams of scientists are working tirelessly in state-of-the-art laboratories, pushing the boundaries of what we know about life, death, and the possibility of revival. The idea of bringing extinct animals back to life, de-extinction, was once the stuff of science fiction. Now it is a real scientific goal, with the woolly mammoth at the very front of this revolution. Museums display the bones and stories of these Ice Age giants, but in research centers, the focus is on their genetic legacy. Thanks to the remarkable preservation of mammoth bodies in the Siberian permafrost, scientists have been able to recover not just bones, but actual tissue, sometimes with hair, skin, and even blood. From these remains, researchers extract tiny fragments of ancient DNA, piecing together the genetic blueprint of the mammoth, one painstaking step at a time. This genetic material, thousands of years old, is fragile and incomplete, but it holds the secrets to the mammoth's unique adaptations, and perhaps the key to its return. Early efforts focused on cloning, similar to the process that created Dolly the sheep. But unlike Dolly, there are no living mammoth cells to use as a starting point, making true cloning impossible. Instead, scientists have turned to advanced genetic engineering, using tools like CRISPR to edit the DNA of living relatives. Leading this effort is Colossal Biosciences, a Dallas-based company with a bold vision to see a mammoth-like calf walking the earth by 2028. Their approach involves taking the DNA of the mammoth's closest living relative, the Asian elephant, and carefully editing it to include mammoth genes. By identifying and swapping in the genes responsible for the mammoth's cold weather traits, scientists hope to create an animal that can survive in the Arctic tundra. Using CRISPR and other gene editing technologies, they can precisely target and replace specific sequences in the elephant genome. The process is meticulous. Scientists must ensure that the inserted mammoth genes will function correctly within the elephant's DNA, and that the resulting animal will be healthy and viable. The ultimate goal is to create a genetically modified elephant that, for all practical purposes, is a working mammoth, an animal that looks, acts, and survives like its ancient ancestor. Scientists are focusing on the genes responsible for the mammoth's most iconic features: long, shaggy fur to withstand the cold, thick layers of fat beneath the skin, smaller ears to minimize heat loss, and a unique, cold-adapted form of hemoglobin that allows the animal to survive freezing temperatures. The result would not be a perfect copy of a woolly mammoth, but a hybrid, an elephant engineered to thrive in the cold and to fill the ecological role once held by mammoths. This cold-resistant elephant-mammoth hybrid would look and behave much like a true mammoth, and, most importantly, could survive and even thrive in the harsh Arctic environment. It would serve as a stand-in for the species we lost, potentially restoring balance to ecosystems that have changed since the mammoth's disappearance. The final step is to create a living animal from this edited DNA. Scientists plan to use the altered genetic material to create an embryo in the lab. This embryo would then be implanted into a surrogate mother, where it would develop just like a natural elephant calf. The surrogate would most likely be an African elephant, chosen for her larger size and ability to carry the slightly larger mammoth calf to term. African elephants are strong candidates for this role given their size and resilience. Their larger bodies make them better suited to carry the hybrid calf through the long 22-month pregnancy. The gestation period would mirror that of a typical elephant, nearly 2 years of careful monitoring and hope. If successful, the birth of a mammoth-like calf would be a landmark moment in science, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. But this scientific odyssey is not without controversy. The ethical debates are fierce. Should we bring back extinct species? What are the risks to living animals, to ecosystems, and to the revived creatures themselves? Some argue that resources would be better spent protecting endangered species, while others see de-extinction as a way to right past wrongs and restore lost biodiversity. As we stand on the edge of this new frontier, the journey to revive the mammoth is as much about exploring the limits of science as it is about confronting the responsibilities that come with such power. The birth of a mammoth would not just be a scientific achievement, it would be a profound moment in our relationship with nature and a question for the future of life on Earth. The possible return of the woolly mammoth brings up deep and exciting questions. Why should we do this? Is it just a scientific curiosity, or could it have a real positive effect on our world? The scientists behind the project argue that this is about much more than just bringing back a single species. They see the mammoth's return as a crucial tool in the fight against climate change. The plan is to bring these animals back to the Arctic, to a new kind of habitat called Pleistocene Park, with the hope of bringing back a lost ecosystem and helping to heal the planet. During the Ice Age, the mammoth steppe was a huge grassland, kept that way by the constant grazing and trampling of millions of large plant-eating animals. This ecosystem was much better at reflecting sunlight and storing carbon than the mossy tundra and sparse forest that has replaced it. The idea is that bringing back large grazers, with the mammoth as the most important species, could help to bring back this ancient grassland. The animals would knock down trees, pack down the snow and fertilize the soil, allowing grasses to grow well again. This could, in turn, help to keep the underlying permafrost frozen. This last point is very important. The Arctic permafrost holds huge amounts of trapped methane and carbon dioxide. As it thaws due to global warming, it releases these powerful greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, creating a dangerous cycle that speeds up climate change. By bringing back mammoths, the hope is that their activity, trampling snow in winter to allow the deep cold to get into the ground, will help to insulate and preserve the permafrost. In this vision, the mammoth isn't just a resurrected old animal, but an ecological engineer, a heavyweight champion in the battle to stabilize one of the world's most critical environments. Of course, this grand vision has its challenges and ethical questions, but the idea itself is a powerful symbol of a new kind of conservation. For so long, our role in the story of other species has been one of destruction. Bringing back extinct animals offers the possibility of a new role, that of a restorer. The journey of the mammoth, from its discovery in the ice to its possible rebirth in a laboratory, is a story of human curiosity, scientific ambition, and perhaps a new sense of responsibility for the planet we share. The return of this Ice Age giant could be more than just fixing a past extinction. It could be a step towards shaping a better, wilder future. Imagine a future where the tundra is once again teeming with life, where the mammoth's presence helps to stabilize the climate and restore balance to the ecosystem. This vision isn't just about the mammoth, it's about creating a sustainable future for all species, including our own. It's about inspiring future generations to think differently about our relationship with nature and our role as stewards of the earth. Long before their footprints faded from the tundra, mammoths shaped the world in ways we're only just beginning to understand. As true architects of their environment, mammoths were more than just massive grazers, they were ecosystem engineers. Their daily lives carved patterns into the land, sculpting the vegetation, soil, and even the fate of countless other species. Picture a herd of mammoths roaming the ancient steppe. With every step they trampled mosses and shrubs, breaking up the soil and encouraging the growth of resilient grasses. Their constant grazing kept forests at bay, transforming sprawling woodlands into vast, sunlit grasslands that stretched for thousands of miles. These grasslands, with their deep-rooted plants, trapped carbon and built rich, fertile soils, supporting a web of life that included bison, horses, antelope, and predators like wolves and big cats. Mammoths also played a vital role in nutrient cycling. Their dung fertilized the earth, feeding microbes and insects, which in turn nourished the plants. Their movements created pathways for water to flow, shaping small ponds and wetlands that became havens for birds and amphibians. In winter, their heavy bodies packed down the snow, allowing the deep cold to penetrate the soil, preserving the permafrost and slowing the release of greenhouse gases. But when the mammoths disappeared, the balance tipped. Without their grazing and trampling, shrubs and trees crept back across the steppe, crowding out the grasses. The soil changed, losing its richness and ability to store carbon. Many animals that relied on the open grasslands vanished or dwindled. The land itself became a shadow of its former self. The extinction of the mammoth wasn't just the loss of a single species, it was a turning point for entire ecosystems. Their absence echoes through time, reminding us how interconnected life on Earth truly is. And as we contemplate their return, we are also forced to reckon with the legacy they left behind and the profound impact that one species can have on the world around it. The dream of seeing mammoths roam the tundra once more is no longer confined to the realm of fantasy. Today, scientists are on the threshold of making de-extinction a reality, a bold endeavor that fuses cutting-edge genetics with ancient DNA. But how does one revive a species lost to the ages? At the heart of this scientific revolution is CRISPR, a powerful gene-editing technology. By comparing the DNA of extinct mammoths with that of their closest living relatives, the Asian elephants, researchers can pinpoint the genes that made mammoths unique, traits like thick fur, fat storage, and adaptations to cold. Using CRISPR, these genetic sequences can be precisely edited into elephant DNA, creating embryos that carry mammoth-like traits. But gene editing is only the beginning. Cloning, once made famous by Dolly the sheep, offers another pathway. This method involves inserting the nucleus of a mammoth cell, if one can be recovered intact, into an egg cell from an elephant. The resulting embryo could, in theory, develop into a living mammoth. Yet the obstacles are immense. Ancient DNA is often fragmented, and ethical concerns loom large. Even if a mammoth-like calf is born, the challenges don't end there. Will these animals survive in the wild? Can they adapt to modern ecosystems? And how will they be cared for by surrogate elephant mothers, whose instincts may differ from their Ice Age counterparts? De-extinction is more than a technical challenge. It is an ethical and ecological quandary. Reviving extinct species could help restore lost ecosystems and combat climate change, but it also raises questions about unintended consequences and our responsibility to the natural world. As we stand at the crossroads of past and future, the story of the mammoth's return is ultimately a story about us, our ingenuity, our curiosity, and the choices we make as stewards of life on Earth. Bringing mammoths back from extinction is more than a scientific milestone. It's a profound choice that ripples across ethics, ecology, and society. Before we set ancient giants loose upon the modern tundra, we must pause and ask, should we? On one hand, reviving mammoths could help restore lost ecosystems. Their grazing and trampling once shaped the Arctic landscape, potentially slowing permafrost thaw and even mitigating climate change. Some scientists believe mammoths could jumpstart a Pleistocene park, turning back the ecological clock and giving nature a second chance. But every bold experiment carries risks. Introducing a species that vanished thousands of years ago could upset delicate balances in today's habitats. Native plants and animals, already struggling with climate change, might not adapt to a giant newcomer. There's also the danger of creating animals that suffer. Creatures with mammoth genes, but no mothers of their own kind, facing unknown health issues and social challenges. Ethics loom large. Who decides if it's right to resurrect the extinct? Is it fair to the animals themselves or to the communities living near their new homes? And what if we succeed? Will we use this power wisely, or will we treat de-extinction as just another technological triumph, ignoring the lessons of the past? The social impact is just as complex. The idea of living mammoths inspires awe, but also controversy. Some see hope for conservation and climate solutions. Others worry about playing God or the potential for unintended consequences. The debate stretches from scientific journals to dinner tables, from policy halls to wild tundra. As the dream of mammoth revival moves closer to reality, it forces us to confront what kind of future we want to build, not just for mammoths, but for all life on Earth. In the end, the legacy of de-extinction will be measured not by what we can do, but by what we choose to do together. Deep in the heart of Siberia, an audacious experiment unfolds, a living laboratory known as Pleistocene Park. Founded by Russian scientist Sergei Zimov and his son Nikita, this vast reserve isn't just a sanctuary, it's a time machine, aiming to restore the ancient steppe ecosystem that once blanketed the Arctic. The vision is bold. By reintroducing large herbivores like bison, horses, musk oxen, and, one day, woolly mammoths, scientists hope to recreate the dynamics of the Ice Age grasslands. These animals trample snow and uproot shrubs, encouraging grasses to regrow and locking cold into the soil. It's a strategy that could slow permafrost melt, a critical defense against runaway climate change. Pleistocene Park is more than theory. Over 2 decades, researchers have observed how grazing herds can transform the frozen landscape. Grasses return, trees retreat, the ground stays colder in winter. Each hoofstep is an experiment in ecological engineering, testing how the presence of megafauna might stabilize our warming planet. But the park's most ambitious goal is still on the horizon: the return of the mammoth. Scientists imagine herds of these Ice Age titans roaming once more, breaking up snow, fertilizing the earth, and creating habitats for countless other species. If mammoth de-extinction succeeds, Pleistocene Park may become their new home, a proving ground for the world's first rewilded mammoths. The story of Pleistocene Park is far from finished. It's a grand gamble, blending science and imagination, hope and humility. As the world watches, the park stands as a testament to our quest to heal the wounds of extinction and a reminder of the delicate balance between innovation and nature.